My name is Marta Soto. I work for the American Psychological Association as a training and support specialist. Today's webinar training is going to start with a ChatGPT created list of references, a little discussion about how that AI generated information might be helpful, might be incomplete or misleading. And then we're going to spend most of our time today showing specific ways that you can use APA's PsycInfo research database to build on that initial search and get a more robust research project started. Little bit of housekeeping for Zoom. You're welcome to turn on a live transcript if that helps you follow along. You may also notice that we're in webinar mode today, not the meeting mode that you may be more familiar with. The chat means that's going to be outgoing only. Myself and my colleague Patty, who's here with me, can use the chat feature to share related links and share the files of the slide deck that we're using. So if you want to ask me a question, please feel free to use that Q&A box. We're a pretty small group today, so if you would rather ask a question using your voice, you can raise your hand, and that will cue us to unmute you, so you can discuss also that way. I'll do little pauses for question breaks kind of in between sessions. Patty can be typing replies as she goes. And also, Patty, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up if there's something you want me to pause the demo and sort of address at that time. Okay, so specifically, the types of search strategies we're going to use in APA PsycInfo today, we're going to talk a lot about topic searching. We're going to look at citations, different ways you can use the cited references list to move forward or backward over time for that research linking. And we're going to talk about how you can save your work, save your progress as you go. Saving searches, saving records, and also setting email alerts. I'm trying to make this as efficient for you as possible. We'll have a couple intro slides, a couple closing slides, but mostly trying to do the demo in the platform. It looks like from registration, we had a lot of librarians sign up and also a couple students. One thing I'm going to go ahead and drop in the chat right now is a link to some of our other trainings to make sure that you have that. So hopefully you will get a lot out of today's training. If it's going a little bit fast for you and you want another refresher, I'd recommend you register for our beginner search. Or if you feel like you've got a good grasp on everything we covered today and you want to go a little deeper, we also offer the advanced search. So at this page, you can see February dates, March dates coming soon for other types of trainings that we offer. And Patty, if you want to go ahead and drop the slide deck also into the chat so everybody can download that, follow along, and have that as a resource after we're done with our time together today.
There's both a PDF as well as a PowerPoint file now in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's where I'm starting off. This is ChatGPT, and more specifically, it's a feature of ChatGPT that's called Consensus. I heard about this kind of accidentally a few months ago, and you can think of Consensus as being kind of analogous to the Google versus Google Scholar type of search. This is ChatGPT attempting to summarize only scholarly research, right? According to ChatGPT, it's only returning results that are, peer-reviewed, scientific method, conducted by experts. So I asked it a pretty basic question, what's the best treatment for depression? And I got this little mini annotated bibliography. So at this point, I'm going to launch a little poll in the webinar. If I can find where that feature's gone. So basically, looking at this list of research from ChatGPT's Consensus, what do you see here that we think is good? Something we could sort of learn and take with us into the PsycInfo search? That's part one. And then part two is what's missing? What is here that's not quite complete, or what do we need to continue to do more research on to best address our research topic, best treatment for depression? You can think these thoughts to yourself. You're also welcome to answer them in the poll or put some ideas into the Q&A chat.
Marta, you might try zooming in if you're able to. I was able to zoom in on sort of my instance, but it's really small before I did that.
Sure. So this is the top half, and I can just scroll down as we go. Thanks, Patty. Trying to fit it all into view. So what I saw here that I thought was useful initially is we're getting second topics, things we can pair with depression, right? This is very broad as a research topic. What is the best treatment for depression? And this is generating some ideas of how to better focus this research question, right? So the top two that are returned, SSRI medications and psychotherapy, right? Those are pretty well known as the standard treatments. But if you keep scrolling down and looking, we see other topics come up. The mention of thyroid hormones. There's a mention of sunlight exposure. Going down a bit more, brain stimulation therapies, and also quote unquote novel pharmacological agents, right? So we can take some of those treatment ideas and pair that as a topic search in PsycInfo. The other thing we could take from here is some of these references. Maybe we want to look into this reference itself. You see Holland et al. From 2002 is cited several times. I don't know exactly why ChatGPT thinks this reference is so important, but maybe I want to look into it myself, right? So if I click this, I'm going to get like a very basic landing page. It's going to show me the abstract, though I can't directly access the full text right now. So what you're getting on the ChatGPT page, right? It's basically a summary of a summary. It looks like this read not the whole article, but it sort of read the abstract and it put out these very basic bullet points, right? So maybe one thing we're going to want to do is find this record, actually read the abstract and read the full text for ourselves, right? Was this an accurate summary, or are there other things mentioned in this article beyond what ChatGPT Consensus was summarizing, right? So we have topic ideas, we have citation ideas, right? I have the option here to copy this citation and use that in PsycInfo next. So that's what I thought was good here. If you have any other ideas, please feel free to share. And then the second part is, what are we missing from this search? And the first thing that jumped out to me, I'm going to scroll back down a little bit, is the newest citation is from 2013. And that was, pains me to say, 12 years ago now. Anybody who's even a little bit in the psychology field knows that research around depression has changed in recent years. There was sort of a landmark study that was done recently that says we don't actually understand the mechanism of SSRIs. Maybe a lot of their effectiveness is due to placebo effect. We know that there's treatments beginning with ketamine, which is a type of hallucinogenic, a whole different drug class than an SSRI. None of that is mentioned here because these are all older records, right? So when I go to PsycInfo, I know I'm going to want to especially emphasize the newest research. For a lot of research projects, the students are going to be instructed to do that anyway. Make sure you have all of your references or a lot of your references from the last 5 years, right? So we're going to take some of these topics and some of these citations, and we're going to seek, in particular, newer research, looking for treatments that might not be mentioned here, right? And again, what ChatGPT, whether it's consensus or not, it does summaries. Once you're into PsycInfo, of course, your campus status will be recognized. You'll have easy linking to all the full text that your library has provided and purchased for you, whether this is, from APA or beyond, from other types of publishers. So that was the extent I was going to spend in ChatGPT today. Just an example to get us started before we move into PsycInfo. Going back to the slides for a minute. Again, I know we may have different levels of familiarity here today, so I want to make sure we're all on the same page about what exactly is APA PsycInfo and why am I recommending this as a more complete alternative to the sort of open web searching, right? So our 5.5 million records are all peer reviewed, with the exception of some sort of historical items that are like things from the 1800s or that are older than peer reviewed. But the vast majority of this is recent and goes through that peer reviewed process. Another thing that is a big deal in building these PsycInfo records is what's called metadata. And that's basically data you can see. There's not a secret algorithm informing the PsycInfo search. You're going to put values in fields and you will get records that match those values. You'll be able to open up the record and see, yes, the abstract and yes, the full text, but dozens of other fields. So you can sort of understand why this record was returned as a search result. One very useful field is the controlled vocabulary that comes from the thesaurus, and we have a whole slide about that next. Traceable sources, right? Very useful to make sure that, again, this scientific method is being preserved, the research standards, right? So first of all, you have the who made this claim, who said that, right? In an open web search, anybody can say anything, but within a research database, you can always trace it back to another scientist, another professional whose work was accepted for publication, right? So the sourcing, those reference lists, the citations in the text, right? It's helping both for validity of the statement. So you know that the person who said it is like, I'm standing behind this claim with my professional reputation, but also it gives avenues to find new research. And then finally, of course, full text linking. Exactly how much full text you can access depends on what your library has purchased. But again, when you're within PsycInfo, you're being recognized as a campus user and you're getting the benefits of everything that your library and your school is providing to you. Okay, so these are all the searchable fields. Again, today we're going to stick mostly with citations and topic terms. When I say topics, I mean mostly keywords and index terms from the thesaurus. But if you want to go deeper, there are a lot of searchable fields that you can add or limit by. We're talking methodologies, document types, grant sponsorship information, tests and measures, author affiliation, specific ways to search, and also, again, all this information included in the record summary. So you have a good picture about how exactly the research was being conducted. And again, if you want to deeper dive into some of these fields, please come back for our advanced search later this month or into March. Okay, so that's PsycInfo. It's a research database. It has a lot of searchable fields. One of the most important ones and where we're going to start is in the thesaurus. Our APA thesaurus works a little bit like reverse of the thesaurus you might be familiar with. What happens is this tool, it takes all the synonyms and it combines them into one single preferred term. So you see a few different examples here. This is the work that's being done by our APA staff, people with backgrounds in psychology who work to create these records. So if you can identify the term that PsycInfo uses in the thesaurus, that's the only term you need to search that topic. You don't have to worry about changes over history or plurals or synonyms or anything like that. So that's one of the powerful ways to search PsycInfo, that you can use this list of about 10,000 psychology terms. And if you search the one term, you're getting all the research that matches. Okay, and our final point about research databases is how you can combine searches. So the first example we're going to do is to search both depression and thyroid hormone. In this case, I would use the and operator, right? You see how and shows the overlap and or gives you more, right? So you always have to think about, when you're combining your terms, do you want a search result that shows either or do you want a search result that shows the overlap, records that match both of your topics? And then PsycInfo PsycNet makes it very easy to pick your operators. There's all these little drop-down menus that have and or not. Okay, everybody with me so far? And for some of you, that might be a little bit of a review, but I want to make sure, in case there are people who are more familiar with the AI type searching, this is why. We're focusing on PsycInfo today, but a lot of what I'm saying may also apply to other research databases, some of the general principles. And we're going to search PsycInfo today. And as a reminder, here's what we're looking for, right? We have some, no, I'm so sorry. This is a very sensitive slide deck today. We're looking for known topics. We're looking for newer treatment avenues for more recent publications. We're going to be able to build more complex searching using some of these fields, filters, and limits that are baked into PsycInfo, right? We're going to find the full text and maybe even find some journal articles that ChatGPT could not provide to us. And then again, you can do this search, set it up once, and then wait for the email alerts to come to you as new research that matches your search question is added to PsycInfo. PsycInfo is updated twice a week with book chapters, dissertations, and journal articles. So again, you can set it up. You won't have to rerun the search, do it once, and then you get the emails coming in if anything new is added on your topic. Okay, it looks like there aren't any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and move us into the PsycInfo demo now. Okay, here we go. So this is the sort of basic search page of PsycNet. I'm going to open up advanced search. I'm doing my demos in PsycNet today. I know there were people registered from EBSCO, from ProQuest, and even a couple from Ovid. So most of the fields and the search tricks I'm showing you, they're going to apply to all the databases. Basically, like the number of records the same, and that searchable metadata and the cited references lists, that's all the same. It just might be laid out a little bit differently. So another thing to understand if you're kind of new to research databases is that you don't have to type the full question, right? So I'm not going to type what is the best treatment for depression. I just need to search my key term, right? So my main term for this search example today is going to be depression, right? So I just have to search that. I'm going to start in this thesaurus search tool and type in depression and say, let's make sure that this is in fact the APA thesaurus term. And it says right here, oh, use major depression. So that's the search term. It's checked already. Like I'm going to add it to my search over here. Great. Another nice thing about the thesaurus tool is if you look up your term, find your term, it's going to also show you broader, narrower, and related terms. So I could say, oh, another chance to focus my research question. Maybe I want to focus on postpartum or seasonal affective or late in life or treatment resistant, right? Those are other recognized terms that I could use to search if I wanted to. So we've got depression, and we were going to pair that, right? Instead of saying what's the best treatment, which is a very broad topic, I can say, how do you treat depression with thyroid hormones, or how do thyroid hormones affect depression? Oh, perfect. Thyroid hormones is also a term in the thesaurus, right? So what I've selected, you see it over here on the right-hand side. What I actually want to do though, I want to search these as and, right? I want the smaller slice of results, records that mention both of these thesaurus terms, right? So we're in the thesaurus tool, we're going to add to search, and now it's moved these terms back to the advanced search page for us. There are a lot of different things I could do on this advanced search page, but for now, I can just do a two-topic search, and that's fine. You see it's added them as index terms, right? On PsycNet, index terms means thesaurus terms. If you're on another platform, you might see the term called subjects or subject headings, but it's the same list of 10,000 thesaurus terms. Okay, so I've set up my search. And now when I click this button, it's going to take me from the search page onto the search results page. Okay, so we've got a nice list of results in the middle. On the left, we see options to filter. And this is 180 results. So that seems like a manageable level for a research project. That's good. Over here, you have the option to filter. A couple filters that I love particularly are methodology. You could say, show me only empirical studies. Sometimes that's a requirement for a response paper as well. You can also very easily limit by age group if you know you want to focus, right? And again, this is the work done by our APA staffers. These are kind of like the thesaurus. The list is just a lot shorter, that if you select one of these values, it automatically applies and it gets you all the records, and you don't have to worry about trying to search synonyms for age or for methodology. This research is sorted by newest as a default, though there are other ways you can sort your search. For example, I can sort by open access first. So if I'm in a hurry, right, this is a short-term paper, maybe it's due tomorrow. Open access means that I know for sure the full text link will lead me to a PDF like within this minute. So I've clicked the title, I've opened up a record. You see we've got the abstract at the top, full text link is there. And in this case, because it has that open access stamp, you can get the PDF basically immediately. So there we go there. One little tool that is AI enhanced on this PsycInfo PsycNet database is we have this list of related content. So this is using a little bit of, it's comparing sort of topics, keywords, thesaurus terms, authors, to recommend related content. But you know that this related content, it's all like, it's other PsycInfo records, right? It's coming from the same sort of APA PsycInfo peer-reviewed, research content. So that's there for you if you like a little AI flavor in your search. Okay, and scrolling down further in this record, right, we've got our basics, full text abstract, and here you see a bunch of those searchable terms, right? So even beyond reading the PDF, you're getting a little reminder of, oh, like what institution did these researchers work at when this was done? We've got the age group, we've got the methodologies, information about who funded the research. And my favorite fields to check out when you're opening a record are going to be index terms, right, from the thesaurus, and then keywords. These are things that the author added that sometimes don't quite match the index terms, right? So we have ideas for some additional terms we could search if we wanted to build on the research, right? So we got here by searching depression and thyroid hormones, but thyrotropin, that's a type of thyroid hormone. We're also seeing, ultra-sensitive thyroid stimulating hormone, right? Some more specific ideas about how to research in this area. Okay, so back to the top of the record, click back to results. What I can do right now is save this search. I recommend you get in the habit of saving search, saving research as you go. I'm logged in up here. This is just a free little create your own research corner that anybody can sign up for. Again, free and quick within my PsycNet. And then you can save that search so I can always come back and run it again later. And go ahead back. So for the second example search, I'm going to do the depression plus sunlight. I think everybody's with me so far. Seems to be a quiet group, so I'll just keep demoing unless Patty asks me to stop and address something. So now I want to see about that sunlight term. So I'm in the thesaurus, I'm searching for sun, and I don't really get a result related to sun. That kind of makes sense. The thesaurus does focus on really psychology specific terms. So I can go back here. I'll keep depression as the index term, but all I have to do is switch over to keywords. And I can enter my topic of sun this way, right? So if you can't find something in the thesaurus, that's what the keywords are for. I'm adding a couple synonyms, because again, this is a keyword, not the controlled thesaurus term. And here we go to run that search. Okay, and I've got about 50 results again. So pretty focused, which seems like a good research question. I can save this search and move on. Okay, so that's how we move some of the topics into PsycInfo searching. The next thing I want to show is how to highlight searching for what's new. So we'll go back to that search page again. We'll keep depression as our search term, and instead of pairing it with another topic term, I'm going to just pair it with what's new. So down here in the date, you can pick a very specific date range to filter the results. On PsycNet, you also have the option to say the past 5 years. So this is pretty basic. Just run that search for what's new in depression research in the last 5 years. Since I already have a year filter, I don't really need to sort by newest. I could instead search by times cited. Everything's still good? You can hear me and see me?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
Some program just closed or minimized in the background, but looks like Zoom's still working. So here we go. Thanks, Patty.
You're good.
Right. So default sorted by year. We can make that instead. Let's filter it by time cited, right? Because we already have a recency filter. Now, perhaps unsurprisingly, the most cited research in the past 5 years is COVID, 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 COVID. If that's what you want to research, great, right? But I was looking for things that were related to SSRI placebo effect or ketamine, right? Some of the new things that were specific to depression treatment. This is where that final Boolean operator comes in, right? We saw how to do and searching. We saw how to do or searching with sun or sunlight or sunshine. Now we're going to say not. Talk to me about depression in the past 5 years, but not COVID. Leave out any research that mentions that. So now we're going to get a totally different, most cited research from the past 5 years. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. There was one that jumped out to me when I was running this example search, right? So this is like pretty comprehensive. It makes sense that this is top cited, but again, it's not really talking about new treatments. It's still a few years old. But when I get down here to number 9, I see in the title psilocybin. That's also known as magic mushrooms. That is a type of hallucinogen, right? So that was kind of more what I was looking for. Instead of saving the whole search, I can check the box and just save this one record. Right? So as you're going along, you've got search level tools up here and then record level tools right here. I'll try one more search here. And what I'm going to add is I want to see results that say new or novel in the title, right? Again, just playing around with some ways to try to get the new angles of depression treatment up to the top of my results list. And here I go, record number 2, multimodal methodology to investigate placebo response. Okay, and I'll save that to look at later as well. So PsycNet will time out after about 30 minutes of inactivity, and that's why I say you want to save as you go, right? So if I went upstairs, took a lunch break, and came back, I would kind of lose all this beyond what I've saved. So within any research time, it's going to remember the recent searches of this current session, right? So you can always scroll through here, make sure all the results that you liked have been saved. This also helps me to be like, I've added too many terms. I want to go back to a bigger list of results. You can use recent searches for this, right? But if I'm going to go away and come back later, that's when I need to start saving. So records I've saved are appearing in my list. So there's the 2 we just added. And searches I've saved are within my PsycNet, right? So I could come back later and rerun this search, or again, I can set up the email alerts. So now it says topic alerts, right? So I'm going to get to the email I used for my account any research that's added to PsycInfo that matches these search parameters. Okay, so summary of what we've done so far, we're at about the halfway point. ChatGPT gave us some quick ideas for starting points. APA PsycInfo is allowing us to do much more precise searching for exact topics, for recent results. And again, the APA assurance that everything you're seeing here is in fact peer reviewed. Okay. One last search in this platform, we're going to look up this particular reference, right? ChatGPT's favorite reference, Holland from 2002. Searching for a known citation like this, like, yeah, you can put in the journal title and the article title and the last names of the authors, but you can save a bit of time doing the DOI search. Make sure that your search string starts with DOI and ends with a number. We don't want any periods. We don't want any, I'm so sorry, it's got to start with a number and end with a number, right? We don't want the DOI bit. We don't want the periods at the end. We just want this control number. Okay, everything looks like it's cleared. There's no filters. And here we go. It takes us right to this article, but within PsycInfo, right? So now we can open it up, get the full text, read it over. You can drop down the list of references, right? So anything that these authors cited that was published before 2002. PsycNet makes this next step pretty easy. It gives the cited by list. So 402 papers in PsycNet that are more recent have cited this, right? So I don't know if I need to read this article from 2002 necessarily. I could, but I can also see who cited this, who has built on this research, right? This is a useful tool beyond ChatGPT. If you find a reference that you really like, but it's kind of old, you can use the cited by tool. It's again default sorted by the most recent. And if I scroll down a little bit, what I see here is talking about brain network biomarkers. Oh, okay, that was that other topic we haven't looked at yet, the brain scans, okay? So I can save this, right? Saving the record. Those same search tools are there. Add to my list. I'll go ahead and open it up and look at some of these index terms, right? So I got here by linking an older citation to a newer citation, and now I'm intrigued about what topic terms this record is using. So I'm seeing here deep brain stimulation and some related topics, transcranial magnetic stimulation. I've heard about that being offered as a treatment for depression. It's not brand new, but it seems to be gaining in popularity, especially for like depression that's not being well managed with SSRIs or other types of medication. Okay. So everything we've seen so far is, again, using that metadata to search, right? The connections between the thesaurus topics, the keywords, you cited you, using our search options. This is a very tried and true researcher's tool. And I tried to show a bunch of different examples of how you can try to tease out answers to your topic question. The next thing I'm going to show is called PsycInfo Research Services. This is a couple years old. It's the same product. If your library has PsycInfo Classic Database, then your library also has PsycInfo Research Services. It's a different URL. You got to start at psycinfo.apa.org. I'll drop that in the chat. So again, this might be provided. This is provided by your library if you already have PsycInfo. If you're brand new, it's going to prompt you to get a login code from your email, but you only have to do that once every 30 days, right? So mine recognized me. Since everybody seems pretty familiar with the classic tools, we're going to go do some of these discovery tool examples. So you can see from the layout here, it's not starting with a search box, right? It's mostly starting with different ways to browse. So again, if you've done search and you want to try discovery and browsing, here's some ways to do this to continue to build on finding more research for your question, right? So what we're thinking about now is the depression plus brain stimulation. And we're going to see this in the PsycInfo's research services page. So on the home page, I can start by browsing all the journals that are included in PsycInfo. It's got journals recommended to me. It's got journals that are trending, currently popular overall. At the bottom of the page, I can select to browse all journals. Okay, so every card here represents a journal that's covered in PsycInfo. I believe there's at least 2,000. The number may be even higher. So it says here you can search for a journal title or a publisher name. You also have some very basic options to filter. And we see here a box that's called topics. So this is where a little bit of AI enhancement is coming into the discovery services, right? The classic database is all metadata, and this discovery service is kind of building on that metadata and adding a little bit of AI topic linking, right? So topics here, they're largely based on that list of 10,000 thesaurus terms, but it does a little more relevance linking beyond what the classic database provides. So I'm looking for a journal that has a lot of information about brain stimulation, right? So I'm going to select a couple topics. It's searching these as or, right? So find a journal that has a lot of information about brain stimulation. And I've got a results list, right? Each of these results is a journal. I see +1 is near the top. They're sorted by number of articles on my selected topics. I like +1 because it's public, right? Every article is going to be open access, very easy to find the full text. And it's recent too. It's got a high number of articles, but it's not yet 20 years old, right? Whereas psychological reports goes back into the 50s, right? So recency, open access, let's choose this journal, right? So I'm browsing all journals, I selected some topics, and now I'm choosing this journal to open up and learn more. Okay, so we've left browse all journals, and now we're on the explore page for this one journal. You see in the blue boxes at the top, we have some basic information. Right, so we've got our topic about brain stimulation. We can pair it with depression here. And we also have the option to, again, add a last 5 years filter. Okay, so topic, recent years, scroll down, and now each of these cards is showing a journal article. I've got, what is this, 6 hits from the Journal Plus. Easy to open the open access here. Got that PDF. And if I click on the title, I will be taken to a page that's all about this journal article, right? Now you might be wondering, why am I bothering to do this in PsycInfo Discovery Services, right? Okay, so I found a journal article. It's got this free text link. It's got the abstract, reference list, all the metadata, and even the related content, right? So this is pretty similar to what you would find in PsycInfo Classic. So why did I bother to do this? The reason is in PsycInfo Discovery Services, you get these 3 tools for every single record. And they're very visual ways to sort of discover new resources, right? So in PsycInfo Classic, you can look at the citations and you can look at the topics to try to find more related research. But this gives you other ways to explore that are a little, they're just different, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'll open up this topic mapper. So topic mapper is sort of an enhanced version of that classic thesaurus tool, right? It's based on which thesaurus terms are in this record, but it's AI enhanced to add more related topics, right? Trying to make discovery a little bit easier. So this is the record I selected. These are the thesaurus terms. I'm going to pick the one that's most interesting to me, that brain stimulation. And when I pick it, it's now the center of this little node. We can open up a legend here. So there's broader terms, narrower terms, when it applies, and related terms, right? Different positions, different colors. You see the color gets a little bit darker, the more records that are found in PsycInfo on this topic. But now I have a new topic term that's called cortical excitability with 86 records. So maybe I want to select this term. Now cortical excitability is the center of my topic mapper. And we've got a whole other list of yellow terms. We're getting a little more into neuroscience now. And over here on the right-hand side, you see this phrase is over here, cortical excitability. There's 86 articles. So the top cited is going to include them all. It goes up to the top 200 most cited articles on whatever topic is in the middle. I can go ahead and just export that list, right? So, an avenue to find related research. There's breadcrumbs here, breadcrumbs. So I can go back I can go back a level, or I can go all the way back to the article where we started. And of course, I can go back to the record page using the title or the arrow at the top. So that's how Topic Mapper works. I encourage you to go play around with this if it's relevant to your research, or to demo it for any students or researchers you may be working with. Under Topic Mapper, we have Citation Mapper. So again, this is drawn from the list of cited references and cited by, and it's just presented in a more visual way. So a legend here as well, the arrows are always pointing backwards in time. Newer documents are darker, and research with more citations is bigger. So something with a big dark circle is going to stand out the most. This is Koopman 2020, right? So that was recent and also very cited. So again, we've got our list in the middle. Our list, I mean, our reference, right, is in the middle of this node. You can also go ahead and download the image at any time. It's a little hard to, like, you can zoom in to read and you can kind of zoom out. But for any of these mapper tools, you can also export the image, just as a way to save that, if that's easier for you to kind of zoom in and read some of this stuff. So yeah, it's the cited references list, just laid out a little more visually, so you can kind of see, learn more about the references that were cited. All right, and the final mapper tool, pretty much the final thing we're going to demo today, is the author mapper. This does not have a directly analogous tool in PsycInfo Classic. Instead of showing who cited who, this is showing who's co-authored with who. So sort of this is our newest tool within the discovery services on this PsycInfo site. And this is just another way, again, to discover and find more relevant research. So we're starting with our selected author. McKenna Garland is in the middle. But if I hover on another article, so I can hover on co-author Sahib Khalsa. And now I'm seeing kind of, now they're at the center and who have they co-authored with. Right. So again, the thickness of the line is telling you how many times they co-authored, and the size of the circle is how many times they've been cited and published. So this is hovering on any one of those dots. If I click, it'll pop up the stats. So Sahib Khalsa has 60 publications and 1,200 citations. And if I double click, just like in Topic Mapper, now this author is the center of the graph. And the list of publications on the right-hand side, once this finishes loading, is going to change. Okay, so this author has done a lot more. This is a huge map of co-authors. You see there's been some circles added. That's sort of relevance grouping within. This is a much bigger author mapper, a little bit unwieldy, but we have the filters here, right? These are the same filters that we used back when we were doing our Journal Explorer searching. So again, we can say, show me last 5 years. We can limit by content type, say journal articles only. We can limit by topic, depression. And brain imaging is actually a type of methodology in addition to being found as a topic. So I've got this limited down to just 5 publications that match our topic, match our methodology, and are recent. So within those 5 publications, we've got a much more manageable list of co-authors, right? So for any record within PsycInfo, you can use those 3 mapper tools. So that's why I kind of show this off. I know everybody's research process might be a little bit different. Do you prefer the classic searching? Do you prefer the AI enhanced discovery? Do you want to go back and forth? A final thing I should say about these discovery services, the psycinfo.apa.org website, this is identical and exactly the same no matter which platform you use for PsycInfo Classic. This makes me very excited. So whether you're an EBSCO, ProQuest, Ovid, or PsycInet user, these discovery tools is the same platform and actually truly identical, not just similar, but the same experience for everyone. Okay. Oh, again, this is not a pro or anti-AI webinar. This is just keep in mind a couple of questions. First of all, do you trust the AI to make accurate recommendations? Is it doing a good job recommending something similar to what you've already shown it that you're interested in? And do you trust that the AI is looking at a pile of data that's good data to begin with? And I hope that within our PsycInfo product, the answer to both of those questions is yes. You know, we have decades of this really robust, data-rich, research publications. And when we add AI tools on top of that, we're leaning on the quality of that data, as well as the quality of the research, as well as the quality of the data that makes up those PsycInfo records. One more thing to show you. Going back to this PsycInfo homepage, the demo I just showed is kind of how you can enter as a beginner. Anybody can start browsing journals or dissertations or books to get into it. If you want to use this more regularly, you can also go ahead and set up your preferences, right? This is where you're going to put in your current interests. And if you sign up, you'll get an email at most once a week on every Monday that shows matches, right? So that you also get that email digest option in discovery services. So for someone like me who's been in here for a while, I can see my most recent notifications. The other thing that happens with the AI tools in Discovery Service, they don't just do enhanced topic linking, but they learn about you and your researcher profile, right? So the topics I set up as my example are pretty broad, pretty general. But after months to years of looking at my research digest and opening particular links, it's learning sort of the types of research that I'm interested in beyond just these metadata tags, right? So if you like the AI enhancements, you have the option to do this here, sort of within the validated space of APA PsycInfo's like recognized peer-reviewed research. So if any of this is new to you, I hope that you have some fun testing it out, or if you've used it before, I hope I've given you some ways that you can pitch it to perhaps some of your younger researchers who may be less familiar with, the research tools and more familiar with the AI open web search tools. Okay, if there are still no questions, I'll go ahead and go back to some of these closing slides. Sort of a summary of what we just talked about, right? So this is why I recommend PsycInfo. We love our thesaurus searching complex searches with Boolean operators, easy ways to limit or sort by the latest research, full text links from your campus, and the ability to save your progress as you go. For PsycInfo Research Services, we've got some links to the tools we saw today, right? The 3 mappers for every record, as well as the Explore Journal tools, where we were analyzing, filter, adding some of those topics. Again, Patty has shared these files in the chat feature of Zoom. So please do feel free to download this, follow some of these links. We have some overviews that go a little deeper into research services in case that's new for you. And again, for those of you who are librarians, you probably know all of this, but I'm trying to sort of helpfully frame some of these conversations to you. Why would you use PsycInfo when ChatGPT exists, right? And these are some of my pitches for that audience, right? You can find the research, the full text, the abstracts beyond what's available on the open web. You can peek under the hood. It's not a secret algorithm in PsycInfo Classic. You get the sources from the citation timeline. I should also mention within PsycInfo, every single citation is in verified correct APA style. That's another thing we do. So if your department or professor is requiring to use APA style, like within your research, any citation you find in PsycInfo, you can just copy and paste it directly. It's already in APA style for you. And again, those discovery tools that are based on peer-reviewed good data. Okay, some resource links to close out our time together. I'm more than happy to pause and address particular questions. Oh, I'm also going to launch the final poll. Those of you who came today get to vote on what our special topic for the fall might be. I have a couple ideas that if you want us to do a deep dive into something else in the fall, please let us know. Okay, some links about what's new for APA publications in the spring. APA Journals resources, our top cited articles, as well as a couple digests you can sign up for. This is a way to get occasional free content from APA Journals if you don't already subscribe to APA PsycInfo. APA style resources for you and your campus. We have a whole teammates, excellent colleagues who really focus on the APA style, and they have tons of free resources to sort of help people use that style correctly. A bunch of training resources for APA databases. This includes another link to that webinar training schedule. We're going to do 3 more versions of this webinar in February and March. We'll also be having beginner search and advanced search that focus a little more on the APA PsycInfo itself and don't necessarily have the AI focus, just a little more direct database field and search exploration. Finally, we know that mental health is not always the best on campus, and that there is a lot of uncertainty for those of us who are, especially those of us who are in the States right now. So if you want to bookmark any of these resources for yourself, for a friend, or to share on a psychology resources page, if you have a LibGuide or a course page or something like that, APA has a publishing wing, which I am proud to work for, but the association overall does different kinds of work to try to promote mental health and human flourishing. Academia and scholarly research is, of course, a big part of using psychology to improve the world. But we also at APA have some of these resources that are more for everyday personal use. I've highlighted some of the crisis lines, but we also have our topics page. Let's see if I can drop that in the chat real quick. That are for a little more, important, but not as urgent as a hotline. And topics include everything from the importance of sleep to exercise, how to manage your stress. I think there is even a topic guide about AI. And again, this is written in sort of public health layman's language. Psychology can be something that's both a professional interest and, of course, also very personal. And we at APA always try to be mindful of that. And speaking of promotion, this is a guide put together by our marketing team. So for those of you who work in libraries, let your students and faculty know that You're the reason, you, the library, are the reason they're accessing these APA databases and research tools.